Welcome to Muslim Apologetics Australia. In this video, we're going to demonstrate and expose the lies made by the Islamophobes in regards to Ayaan Hersi cancelling her show in Australia. Now, as you know, she's been on tour. She was meant to speak in Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, in different parts of Australia. And as you know, she had organisations promoting her show, and that organisation is called Thinking. And we'll put a hyperlink below this video so you can see the organisation for yourself. So, as you know, at the very last minute, Ayaan Hersi cancelled her show at the very last minute. And, of course, she blamed it on security. She blamed it on security because she felt vulnerable and unprotected. But we're going to analyse, thanks to what Brother Wissam Razvi has written, who's a Muslim apologist in Australia. I'll share that information, and I'll also give you my look on the matter. As you know, the Islamophobes are coming out and saying many silly and ridiculous assertions. When the show was about to commence, the Muslim organisations also made a request that they will protest at Ayaan Hersi's events. Now, these were protests that were going to be peaceful, and there was no death threats made. There's no actual evidence of that, because that's what the Islamophobes would want you to believe. But there was no official death threats made by the protests. The protests were going to condemn the event and call out that she is a liar. And that's actually part of freedom of speech to do so. Yet there are Islamophobes and Ayaan Hersi fans who are making comments such as Lewis Stewart, as you can see in the screen. He says, "If the freedom of speech be taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led, like sheep to the slaughter." So Islamophobes are basically saying that Ayaan Hersi was silenced. Her freedom of speech was silenced. And it was silenced by the protesters. Now, how is freedom of speech being silenced by the protesters? It's not. It's separate. She has an event going on inside a building where she's free to say whatever she wants, protected by security, right? And the protests were going to take place outside of the event, where people were going to again freely express themselves and their condemnation of Ayaan Hersi. So why is this being seen as silencing Ayaan Hersi when it was her that actually cancelled the event to begin with? Now, it's interesting because Islamophobes say Ayaan Hersi is stronger than swords. Her words are stronger than swords. Well, where is her words stronger than swords? She had the opportunity to speak her mind. And in fact, it's not the very first time she's been here. She's been to Australia almost 6 times, where she was given platform after platform to speak her mind about Islam and Muslims. So why all the panic at this moment? Here you go, Leslie, another person, says, she speaks about democracy and freedom of speech. They're all making it a freedom of speech and a democratic issue. Here's another one. Patricia Blemis says, obviously radical religious lots, anti-freedom of speech, minority who are too afraid of what people may learn and want to prevent societies having discussions and involving so we can better live by side. But notice, she was given the freedom of speech to speak her mind. In fact, it's interesting because she's not even debating another Muslim. Another Muslim she did not even engage with. She was going to do her own show. So it looks like she was too even afraid to even express her own opinion to her own crowd. Patricia says people were too afraid to learn about what Ayaan Hersi had to say. No Muslim protester said we're going to close down Ayaan Hersi's speech. In fact, that's even impossible for that to happen. You have police force protecting Ayaan Hersi and her organization and her speech. That is completely impossible for that to happen. So it is ludicrous to say that this woman was trying to be stopped from giving her free speech. It was her that cancelled her own event. It wasn't the Muslims. But you see, the Islamophobes want to bring out this narrative to protect Ayaan Hersi because she's a known liar. She's a known liar, and the only way they could protect her integrity is to say, oh, look, these Muslims are zealots. These Muslims are trying to stop freedom of speech, yet that never even occurred. There was no evidence of Muslims trying to stop it. In fact, they were just going to protest their condemnation of Ayaan Hersi being a hate preacher. So how is that stopping an event? That's basically having their own freedom of speech and expression and condemnation of such a person. That's not stopping it, but it was Ayaan Hersi who stopped her own event. Here's another one, Lachlan Knight Phillips, who says fundamentalist Islam is unapologetically anti-gay, anti-female rights and anti-freedom of speech. Again, why are they making it an anti-freedom of speech notion? So if Muslims fight and kill people who want to speak against Islam, they become radicals and anti-freedom of speech. So when Muslims go to become peaceful Muslims by protesting peacefully against an event, again they become anti-freedom of speech. How is that possible? How is that even possible, anti-freedom of speech, when they are only protesting against the lies asserted by Ayaan Hersi, which in fact is their freedom of speech and part of freedom to protest, is it not? In fact, if you're saying that Muslims are not allowed to protest against Ayaan Hersi, you are actually taking the freedoms of the protesters away from them, aren't you? So you are a double-faced hypocrite when you want freedoms for Ayaan Hersi, but you don't want freedoms for Muslims to protest against Ayaan Hersi and the lies she makes against Islam. Here's another idiotic woman, Meredith Doig. She says, what is this country coming to when someone wishes to exercise her right to freedom of speech? It's intimidating into withdrawing. Shame, Australia, shame, she says. Amazing, isn't it? So they expect Muslims not to have freedoms to protest and freedom of speech, but they get angry when they think that Ayaan Hersi is being silenced and her freedom's being taken away from her, when that idiotic woman cancelled her own debate. Or discussion, actually. It's not even a debate. She can't even debate Muslims. If she had anything concrete and strong, she would debate a Muslim apologist. Even Robert Spencer even debates Muslims, and he says incredible things against Islam. He's not afraid to debate Muslims, but Ayaan Hersi, her counterpart, is too afraid to debate Muslims on an apologetic stage. Why is that? If this woman was true, if she wasn't afraid of her arguments being debunked, why doesn't she debate a Muslim intellectual? She doesn't do that. So that's proof right there that she's a coward and she's scared of not Muslims. She's a coward because her arguments can't stand up to scrutiny. In fact, on the flip side, I think it's great that there is Islamophobia in this country. I know you're probably thinking, what the hell is he saying? Why would Islamophobia be great? Well, in one way, it's bad, of course, because Muslims are being oppressed and, ridiculed. But of course, the flip side and the positive is it actually unites Muslims. Muslims have never been so united. I mean, after all, when these events usually take place, there usually isn't protests, but we are seeing protests more and more now, which is great because it's unifying the Muslims against these lies, and we're actually standing up and condemning her hatred and her lies spread against Islam and Muslims, which actually is something positive and good. I think the Muslims should continue to protest and put pressure on these liars and express their condemnation of such people spreading lies and hatred against Islam and Muslims, dividing this nation. Her hatred is a cancer, honestly, to society. The problem we actually have with her is she makes lies, like she would bring up genital female mutilation, which is only a cultural thing. It's got nothing to do with the Islamic religion. And you can watch my video below this video where I refute genital female mutilation, and you will see how we clearly refute that it's not an Islamic practice as understood by Sharia, but she likes to conflate it to Islam and Muslims and create this hatred and ridicule instead of targeting culture. And in fact, Christians, even in African continents, practice genital female mutilation. So, of course, that's not an issue, apparently, but she likes to target Muslims. So, in that notion, we would also like to bring up Brother Wasim Razi's points, and he says, she shouldn't need to cancel her tour to Australia. Rather, Australian immigration must ban her from entering Australia as she is an extremist who condones violence, radicalised people. Counter-terrorism experts should have a thorough investigation about her hate speeches. So Brother Wassam is also pointing out that she wants to target, radical Islam, where she is known to be a person that radicalized people as well. And we'll go through the article and you'll see the rest of the points. The lie is once again caught in the act of lying and deceiving. This is in reference to her cancelling her event. This time around, she is trying to deceive Australians by abusing the law authorities and playing theoretical victim, but I can assure you, we Aussies are better at catching the likes of such fraudsters. Someone who lives and earns her livelihood by creating division and discord in the society can never be trusted. Ayaan cancelled her tour to Australia for a few reasons. Let's analyse in the light of the article from The Australian this morning with direct quotes from her office, Australian organiser AFP and local police. Prominent anti-Islamist activist Ayaan Hersi has blamed security concerns and organisational lapses on the part of her hosts as the reason behind her cancellation of her Australian visit. She has blamed, number one, security concerns, and two, organisational lapses on the part of her hosts. She is accusing Australian Federal Police and local police authorities of not being able to protect her in case of possible threats. But according to police officials, an Australian Federal Police spokesman confirmed the agency was aware of media reports that Miss Hersi Ali visited had been, but the AFP was not asked to provide advice on security arrangements in this case. Police sources in Queensland, Victoria and New South Wales forces told a similar story with none aware of any threat. In light of the above, she has abused Australian police intelligence, their ability and strength to deal with any untoward incident, if at all. I like to hear some noise from radical nationalists and extremist patriots against such lowly blame against our police force. She then went on to blame the organisers, her own hosts, for organisational lapses. One of the founders of Think Inc., Dej Amelia, was bewildered. She quotes, "We hadn't been given information by police. This is abrupt as it gets." Mr. Amelia said ticket sales to Miss Hersi Ali's event had been buoyant, or at any rate had met organisers' expectations. As the day wore on, Miss Hersi Ali publicists Leona Phillips issued a second statement, this one laying the blame for the cancellation visit at the feet of the organisers. Why would you invite such a poster girl who has no respect or regard for her own organisers and throws blame on them? Well, some deserve the taste of their own medicine. Furthermore, 10 things that will shock you about Ayaan Hersi. Number 1. In 1992, she lied to the Dutch authorities about her identity for migration, Zebra Dutch program, May 2006. Number 2. She further deceived Dutch the victim as a refugee while she never lived through any war in Somalia, rather was in Kenya for over 10 years under the protection of UN, which funded her education. Dutch program, May 2006. Number 3, Ayaan lied about her forced marriage and that she wasn't present at her own wedding while her parents and former husband testified otherwise. Number 4, she claimed her parents were going to commit. She maintained close contact not just with her family, even with her former husband till late, and was going to join him in Canada after getting refugee status in Netherlands. Once she lost all her credibility in Netherlands, she ran away to US and joined the Islamophobia industry, peddling her career through instilling fear and hatred. Number 5, Hersi Ali's mother had sent her brother to a Christian school, not exactly an indication of Islamic fanaticism that Ayaan proclaims quite often. Number 6, she claimed Muslim women are oppressed and do not have freedom, while her own Muslim mother travelled to various countries and worked under a British woman, dark secrets, The Economist, 8 February 2007. Number 7, according to New York Times, her honorary degree offer was revoked by Brandeis. Number 8, while visiting Germany, she condoned violence and terrorism. She defended the killing spree committed by Norwegian extremist Anders Breivik, claiming they left Breivik with no other choice but to use violence. Number 9, 77 people was radicalized by Ayaan Hersi. Breivik cited Hersi Ali's works in his 1,500-page manifesto, claiming his plans to commit a series of terrorist attacks across Norway. Number 10, she made a statement during Jon Stewart's interview with Ali in March 2015. According to the International Institute for Strategic Studies, Hersi Ali wrote in WSJ's Saturday essay, at least 70% of all the fatalities in armed conflicts around the world last year were in wars involving Muslims, while IISS revealed that such a figure has never been stated. I would also like to conclude and finish by saying that I was reviewing the Think Inc. program whilst it was promoting Ayaan's works in Melbourne, Australia, her show. My personal opinion is she charged more than $250 a seat. Aussies couldn't afford it, and when she couldn't get greedy money and hardly got people, she cancelled and blamed it on security because she was charging more than $250 a seat. And only the crapper seats were less, a little bit less than that, and even still more expensive. Ayaan isn't the first time coming here. She's been here many times, so why is all the fuss and why the deceit? I find it massively funny that she's come here multiple times, yet she's now fearing for her life. A non-Muslim in defense of Ayaan Hersi actually right, except her tickets were sold out, which ditches your narrative. So he's claiming that all her tickets were sold. But my response to this is the tickets that probably got sold out were all the cheaper seats, which ranged far back rows, which were still priced about $70. She most likely couldn't get anyone to afford the rest of the venue, which she probably had to pay for, and that's why she wanted at least $250. I'm guessing it was her way of hiring out the venue, and when she started to realize that the money isn't adding up and she hasn't sold the $250 tickets, she probably did this stunt because she will probably still get the publicity anyway, which she has in Australia, and she basically cancelled it because she couldn't get the numbers, and afford to pay for the venue. In fact, when I saw the Think Inc. organization which promoted this, I witnessed dozens of people complaining about ticket prices. Many of them, you can go to the Think Inc. Facebook page where they were first initially promoting this. Dozens of people were condemning why the prices of tickets were so high. So this could probably also explain why she pulled a stunt and pulled out and blamed it on security.